Linkin Park, One More Light.
Was it that bad?
Well, after coming out in 2017, it's been a fair few years now, so we thought we'd revisit the album, go through it track by track, and decide if it really deserved all the negative criticism it got in the time.
The first track that we have is Nobody Can Save Me, and this was a very jarring intro for a Linkin Park album. What did you think?
I think that straight off the bat, this shows the different direction that Linkin Park were taking in this album, but I actually think that this song is quite good, personally. Chester's vocals are fantastic throughout it, and that is a theme throughout this album. It gradually builds more layers into the song, especially in the latter section, in the last minute or two. It starts to feel a little bit grander and like there's a lot going on. So I enjoyed the vibes of this song. Again, it's not what I would have expected when I initially put this album on, but it was good. What did you think?
It's not really a sound that we've heard Linkin Park go for before, and I think that kind of lends into it not sounding like a Linkin Park track at all, which for the first track on an album is a bit of a strong thing to do. Like, you've got to be confident that that's the way that you're going. Chester's vocals, though, I agree with you, absolutely fantastic on this track. It really shows off his range, and there's a lot more clean vocals on this album than we've seen before, and I do think that that shines through. But we move off that onto one of the biggest featured tracks, which is Good Goodbye, featuring Pusha T and Stormzy. Let's just talk about how crazy those features are. Did you ever expect we'd get a Linkin Park track with Pusha T and Stormzy?
Well, I think Stormzy summed it up best in this song when he said, "Man, them were linking things in parks. Now I got a tune with Linkin Park," which just an elite level bar. And to be honest, this is my favourite song on the album by a country mile.
I'd argue that this is potentially one of the worst Linkin Park songs that they've ever released.
Really?
Genuinely.
Why?
I thought this was absolutely dreadful.
I thought the features on this worked really well. It doesn't, no, hear me out though. If you put it in a category of Linkin Park songs and think about old Linkin Park, yes. But I think as a Shinoda with some bars, Pusha T with some bars, Stormzy with some bars, as a song, it was still very good.
Don't get me wrong, Shinoda is on form here. This is like peak Shinoda. The bars that he delivers on this are amazing. It kind of gave me Fort Minor vibes, you know, when he had that more aggressive, raspy rap style. I really enjoyed that. But Pusha T's verse is very mid, and both his and Stormzy's verse feel really phoned in. Feels like there's not really a whole lot going on. They're just talking about the track. Feels like when Kanye did the remix of Fall Out Boy. He goes, who knows what this track's talking about? I have no idea what's going on. I'm with Fall Out Boy. Yeah, they Ball Out Boy. It just feels like he's just rhyming things with the artist.
See, I quite like this one. I thought the production was okay. The bars were delivered cleanly. And I think maybe I'm putting it against the rest of the album. And this is one of the highlights.
One thing about this track that really upsets me as well is that there's too many hooks from Chester. I feel like they keep revisiting that part, and I feel like if they'd have dropped out a couple of the hooks, they could have given them maybe 4 more bars each, and it would have maybe lengthened it out and made the features a little bit better, but overplayed in my opinion. But we move off that quickly into Talking by Myself. To myself, not by myself.
This song could be written by any band ever in the history of time.
It's so generic.
Since recording studios became a thing, maybe cavemen couldn't have quite put it together. But for me, this just has no memorable or redeemable qualities at all.
I kept waiting for the track to build up to something, and it never got there. I expected a drop halfway through. There's a part where it starts to ramp up a little bit, then it goes back to the hook that we were hearing before, back into the chorus, and I'm like, can you do something, please?
In the intro as well, it kind of sounded like, oh, we're going to get a little bit more rockier. There was a couple guitars. I was like, all right. And then it just completely let me down.
I really struggled to find anything positive about this track.
So should we move off that onto Battle Symphony?
This is a very, very catchy track. Like, out of all the tracks on this album, this is the one that was a proper earworm for me. Stuck in my head. The repetition on it is unbelievable, though, and I think that's why it stuck in my head so much. It's not an earworm that I wanted, but it was kind of forced on me because he just says Battle Symphony over and over again. He gets the verse, it's Battle Symphony. The hook, it's Battle Symphony. The chorus, exactly the same. It's Battle Symphony, just with a more grandioso backing instrumental. Really not a fan. Feels like it was made for a radio station. So we're going to move off that quickly and we're going to go into Invisible. What did you think?
This was practically an entire song of Mike Shinoda singing, and that is not his strong point. So I don't really understand why you would go in that direction. I appreciate as an artist you want to test things like that and give it a try sometimes, but It just doesn't really work for me. What did you think?
I completely disagree with you. Mike Shinoda's singing on this track is phenomenal. It made me question why we don't get more of Mike singing, because I think it's really good. I genuinely do. But it is crazy to have an entire track with no Chester on it at all. I thought that was a very bold move, but I think it paid off.
But when Chester's in the band, it feels really weird to me when you've got one of the best vocalists of all time and you're not even having him come in and at least deliver some background vocals and stuff.
To me, I can't say that he was particularly missed on this track. I think it works perfectly with Mike Shinoda's vocals. I think this is one of the more LP feeling songs off the entire album. And I think, although Chester isn't on it, I think it's a very good track.
You think it's a very good track?
For Shinoda to show off his style.
No, but as a track, you think it's very good?
The instrumental worked very well with Shinoda's vocals. It paired really nicely. And overall, I don't think this is the worst that we've ever heard from Linkin Park, considering we've got songs like Good Goodbye on this album.
I think that that's way better than Invisible. But we'll move on to Heavy featuring Kiara. What did you think of that one, Tim?
Really, really chill track. And I think if it wasn't Linkin Park, I would probably really like this song.
I quite like this. It has a deeper meaning, a deeper feeling, a lot of focus on Chester's vocals. And I also thought Kiara did a really good job on this. A fantastic feature, paired together nicely. I agree with you, it feels very far from Linkin Park, but still I can appreciate as a song, this is quite good.
Yeah, Kiara and Chester's vocals work so well at lending to each other. There's a part where they do back and forth and then they harmonize on the chorus that comes up next. And it just works so well. Their vocals really pair nicely. And I have to admit, this song is low-key a bop. Like, I really enjoyed it. And the drumming is really good too, but it's reserved. It doesn't go too over the top, but it shows off what skills there are within the band, which a lot of these tracks don't do. We move off that onto Sorry for Now.
The instrumental on this one was all over the shop. There was moments in this track I was like, what is actually happening? It genuinely reminded me of in school when you got a keyboard and you could just put together a little beat.
DJ.
This is what I mean though, with Linkin Park going in the electronic sounding pop rock vibe. This is such a horrible example of that. Like, this is one of the worst songs I've ever heard within that genre.
It's another Mike heavy track though, isn't it? Like, it's really showing off Mike's styles, and I don't think people give Mike enough credit for how good of a musician he is. And
well, if this is his track, then I'm not gonna.
Well, no, but he is like vocally talented, and I don't agree with you saying that he's not a good singer, because I think that he is. I think he's got the chops.
I said singing is not his strong point, so I don't know why when you've got Chester you would allow him to have a whole track of him just singing.
Well, on this track, they kind of swap roles, because there's like a weird rap-esque delivery of Chester's lyrics. Like, it was around the bridge, and I just thought it was really odd to hear Chester kind of trying to do a flow, which we've not really heard that much before. We've heard him do fast-paced singing and, screaming and, that raspy stuff, but as far as actually delivering bars, it felt very weird. And the effects on his voice are really, really odd. And against Mike's clean vocals, I feel like it's a very haphazard track. I feel like it's just thrown together.
So let's move on to Halfway Right, which for me is another very missable track, to be honest. I think the thing with a lot of these is maybe people can say, well, it's produced well, it doesn't sound awful, it's not particularly offensive. Yeah, but it's not particularly attractive in any way either, is it?
The word generic springs to mind for this track, and I feel like I've already heard this track within all the other tracks that we've heard so far, so it doesn't feel like anything new. It feels pretty tired by this point in the album. And let's talk about the na-na-nas, because I think we both hate forced sing-along sections in this song, and this has two of them where you think, if people want to sing along and they want to lend themselves to a track, they'll do that. You don't need to force them to have the na 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 na. Like,
it's so boring when a band for the last 30 seconds of a song is just going na 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 na. It makes me think that they've completely run out of ideas and have nothing else to say.
No lyrics left.
But then the problem is there's two more songs on this album, the next of which is One More Light, which is a real big highlight for me.
This is a super heartfelt track, and you can kind of really understand the emotion that was put into it. There's a lot that the lyricism throughout is really good. Personally, for me, it's not my cup of tea. I don't really like that style, but I can completely appreciate that this is one of the better tracks off the album.
I think that there's a very calm, well put together instrumental which matches the emotional energy and personal struggles that are on display from Chester throughout this. I just think for what this song is, it's executed very well.
What's crazy to me is that this is the most listened to song off the entire album, and I feel that's a little bit criminal because there's other tracks on here that I would definitely say should be bigger than this one in particular.
Yeah, but I understand why people can relate to and have continued listening to this one. Should we go on to the last song of the album, which is Sharp Edges?
This is arguably the least Linkin Park sounding track off the entire album, in my opinion. The hook and the chorus just do not hit.
This is like a motivational play it in church on a Sunday type track for me. The album should definitely have ended with One More Light.
Yes, 100%. This is not very catchy at all. There's no part of this song that I can even remember sonically. Like, it doesn't stick in your head at any point, which is a sign of maybe not poor songwriting, but not Linkin Park songwriting.
But the question is, Tim, is there any part of this album that will remain in your head sonically?
Oh, maybe the sing-along ooh, ooh, oohs in the last track, which, again, stop forcing that. But for me, I didn't really like it when it came out. I don't really like it now, I can't lie. It just doesn't hit. It's way too pop-centric for my liking. You can tell there's a lot of outside influence on it. There's a lot of other writers that are credited on this album that weren't on previous albums. And to me, it kind of feels like they were trying to do something with this. They were trying to maybe go for a radio play album or maybe go for a more, generic, let's hit a wider audience, and just don't do that. Why did you do that?
I mean, I've said it multiple times throughout this. I think the new direction could have gone well, but they did a really bad job of it. And to be honest, I think as horrible as this is, and I think you will be maybe in slight disagreement, I think that a lot of the Shinoda tracks and the ones in which he had a big influence absolutely stank on this. No, I'm sorry. I love Mike, and I love a lot of his work, but I think the songs where it was clear that he was having more of an influence in the production and it was focused more on his singing or bars were the worst parts of this album.
I thought they were some of the best parts of the album. Genuinely think they were some of the best parts.
You're reaching, brother.
I'm not reaching at all. Not at all. No. I will not hear this hate towards Shinoda. The thing that I have that's an issue with this album is the fact that it's not really Linkin Park, because there's so many, I've said it before, the outside influence makes it feel like it's not a Linkin Park project. And I respect the lyrics, and there is some amazing lyricism throughout the album. And some of the melodies are decent. There's some catchy stuff in there. There is, there's high points of the album, definitely. But the songwriting as a whole for Linkin Park standards is really poor.
It's like all the good songwriting was pushed into 2 or 3 songs where it was really deep and emotional, and then the rest was like random word generator.
I think this would have worked better as like a side project. Like if they'd have released this under a different alias and had a different, a different band entirely, it would have worked so much better. Because it was Linkin Park, I think, let's get on to that. What did you think of this album? Was it really that bad, Joe?
I would say, unfortunately, it was really that bad. And to be honest, I think it's the easiest out of all these we've done in the series. We've done Revival by Eminem. We've done Jesus is King by Kanye West. This is the easiest one to say it was that bad.
I completely agree. Yeah, absolutely terrible. This is dross. This is bad. This is just not good at all.
But the songs are quite good.
It doesn't take away from the fact that the album stinks, brother. But out of 10, what are you going to give One More Light by Linkin Park?
I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 10. I think that some of the deep emotional songs I can appreciate and quite like. I like it when an artist shows that raw emotion online and in the music. So, yeah, 2.5. How about you?
I'm coming in at a 3. I can't give it any more than that. And the 3 is pick up because of the Shinoda tracks, which you hate, so I can understand a 2.5.
Well, we're going to need more than 3, but we're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by New Year's. So if you've got to this point in the video, make sure you hit the buttons and help us hit that goal.
We do all sorts of videos like this where we go over artists' worst albums, we go over artists' best albums, we do new album reviews, all sorts. If you love music, hit subscribe, join us, and thank you very much for watching.
Peace.